Good pick.
All right, so
Will it stay upright like that?
yeah, I'll stay upright.
Well, we're back. Another episode. Cup of Life. Yeah, it started. It's okay. So here, last episode, we got to talking about Papa Jack and what an amazing bush pilot he was. And when that conversation ended, it got me asking questions about different flights here, different landings there, and it made me realize there's a lot of pilot stories in that era of 80s, in the late 80s, before
80s
I
and
was
90s
born,
and 2000s.
and when I was a little child, barely
Right.
remembering
Right.
that I've never gotten to talk to you about, and especially with this awesome shirt he's wearing today, the Miskito Air Force. So what are some of the things that led up to you getting this shirt made?
Well, this shirt I had made probably in the early 90s.
And how many guys were wearing had the privilege of wearing that logo?
Barry Watson, who was a pilot for a local Sammy Airlines that flew out of Port Olympia. Tom and the MAF pilots that were at Awas, George Goff, Jack Dyer. Of course, I gave one to Jack. And so there was just about 6 or 7 of us that I actually had these shirts made up, because we were all Christians. We were all flying in a very remote corner of Central America, the Mosquitia, which at that time, and still is, there's no roads going from Honduras out to that area. So you have to go by plane or you have to go by boat. Unfortunately, in the last 20 years since I stopped flying there, it is a central point between Colombia and Mexico, so a lot of drug trafficking started happening. And there were now a bunch of little airstrips that have been carved out in that area, which many of them have a burnt-out airplane on one end.
Just leave it.
Because the Colombians steal an airplane, or the Mexicans, one of them steals a plane, flies it there, transfer the cocaine, which is worth millions. The airplane is nothing. They just leave the airplane, burn it, and off they go. So the area's changed, but in the 80s and 90s, there was the refugee problem. There was very few of us that were actually flying in the area.
Yeah.
We knew all the airstrips. We made our own. I took an airstrip that was in Auca that was just kind of a path in a field, and I put some irrigation pipes and dug some ditches and put a windsock up and put some barrels at the end and painted them white so I could see the end of the runway. It was such a unique experience, Lucas, for me to go from what I used to fly to actually flying these light airplanes in a very demanding environment.
Now, the names you mentioned, I think I've only met Jack and I've only met Barry. Is that true? That's accurate, right?
Right.
And are any of these guys, who's still alive? Jack's gone.
Barry Watson runs that hotel in West Palm.
So he's alive.
He is. And as you know, Barry, his father was Reichert Watson, who was the Moravian pastor that planted the first school and church on the Cocoa River in 1928.
Wow, okay.
And Barry became my friend because he was one of the pilots, and then when the war ended, he moved back to Waspam on the Nicaraguan side and started a hotel. And as you know,
is that same hotel?
The El Piloto.
I've been there. Yeah.
And Barry and I started walking. He was having some diabetes and blood pressure problems, so he and I started walking early in the morning, and that was our routine for a number of years. And he just became a dear friend, and he has such a heritage since it was his father that started that first church on the Cocoa River. His father was a Mosquito boy, married a girl named Mabel Sinclair. Her dad was an Englishman, and in his house...
So you were both sons of Mabel.
Exactly. Yeah. How about that? Mabel was blonde-headed and So Barry's daughter Lulu, I don't know if you ever met Lulu.
I think maybe we've seen her in passing.
Lulu
Yeah.
has freckles. She's white skinned and has curly blonde hair, and she's grown up to be just a really beautiful woman.
She spoke English.
Yeah,
Yeah.
English
Okay. I think
Miskito.
I vaguely remember her. Yeah.
And she lives in Managua. She's married to Rigo, and she has kids, and just has been just a very dear friend of ours. But
And the other guys, you've kind of lost track of those guys.
George Goff was a Miskito boy that he was taken by the Mission Aviation Fellowship guys to Redlands, California.
Taken.
Well, he
Just kidding.
he volunteered. He was wanted to become a pilot. They trained him. George came back as a pilot mechanic for Mission Aviation Fellowship. Was based in Awas, where the Moravians had their hospital, and George became a dear friend. He married an American girl named Ruth. We stayed at their house often, especially when we had airplane problems.
Where was this?
In Awas, which is
Okay.
on the Patuca River.
So I've never been there.
Probably you don't remember. I think you were there, but I think you were probably 3 or 4 years old at
Okay,
the time.
very small.
Um,
Not forming much memories yet.
But it was the MAF base. There are always 2 pilots there, and they're trained as mechanics. And so we became friends with them. Steve, Tom, George. These guys were excellent pilots, but they could fix airplanes.
Yeah.
Which was,
And let me ask you a somewhat random, but not random. So all these people you encountered down there, did you have the impression that, like you, these are all people that had been actually touched by Jesus and were down there for specific reasons?
most definitely.
Yeah.
All the MAF pilots could have jobs with airlines,
Right.
and yet they decided to be missionaries. And
That thought just flashed in my mind. I thought, man, like I wonder how it was interacting with a bunch of other people like you, you know, that had an experience at some point
well, one
and acted on those convictions.
Yeah,
you know?
one of the first MAF pilots I met was actually an former Air Force pilot that flew the C-141s, which were their big cargo airplanes.
Okay. Propellers or jets?
Jet.
Okay.
And I noticed when I met him, he was always wearing his flight gloves, which it was in the military, we always wore our flight gloves.
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 Like
just
when you're flying.
when you're flying,
Okay.
because they protect you from fire.
Okay.
But the feel of the airplane with your gloves on is different than
Right,
the feel
of
of the
course.
airplane without. So, of course, I got used to flying the airplane without my gloves. But
And did he say anything about that?
well, we talked about our military experience, and our experience was different than any of the other pilots.
Of course.
I just pulled this picture up. You've.
Well, now I've been looking at it. It's a good picture.
Let's see if it comes up here again.
It's trying to scan your face.
Yeah. Well, let's see if it comes up here. That's maybe. But
Let me see.
I flew. This is the airplane. One of the first airplanes I flew in the Navy.
Is that the F4?
The TA-4 Skyhawk.
TA4.
Skyhawk, which was one of the fastest airplanes, very maneuverable. This was me on the 17th of April 1975 when I got my wings and became a naval aviator.
What was going through your mind, you think, this day?
Well, I was
Did you think you were
somebody?
hot snot, or were you feeling the weight of your commitment to the
No,
United States Navy?
No,
Or
I'd gone through 2.5 years of flight training. I flew the T-34 Mentor prop airplane. Then I flew the T-2 Buckeye. And then I had a lot of fun flying the A-4 Skyhawk. Which
was that the first like fighter-esque plane that you flew?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
This was a fighter bomber used in the 1960s.
So
and
that
70s.
plane can maneuver and has speed and
You hit the stick over, it rolls 720 degrees a second.
Whoa, okay.
In other words,
yeah, you're going
in 1 second.
Yeah.
Highly maneuverable.
Is that the
great.
same as your? No, okay. Faster.
It's more maneuver. Now this is the airplane. The next airplane I flew, the A-6 Intruder. This was the Navy's all-weather attack airplane. At the time I flew it, it was the most expensive airplane in our inventory next to the F-14. The airframe was $8 million, but the electronics were $20 million.
Wow.
Because it had a ground mapping radar and it had a inertial navigation system. These were the days before GPS, global positioning systems.
So it could do a job that other planes just didn't have the brain for. Really.
Well, we could fly in any weather through, and this is our squadron photo by Mount Rainier. I lived up in Whidbey Island, Washington.
Who actually takes that photo? Some Navy photographer?
Actually, Casey Gibbs, my friend Casey Gibbs, was flying in the. We had a chase plane, and he's a photographer, and so we wanted to get our squadron photo.
So you planned that?
And I'm flying the number 2. Daryl Kerr's flying.
So is he in a
A6?
He's in another A6.
Yeah, and he's flying, and
Is he the navigator, or is he on the stick?
He's the bombardier navigator. Okay. He's with the camera.
So his hands are freed up.
But Casey was a pilot because he owned a little a Taylor craft, and he flew his little airplane around, a little fabric wing airplane.
So he was also
a pilot. Really good guy, dear friend.
So did he take all these photos that you have of?
No, these are just some random. This one, Fred House, one of my instructors, took this picture of the A6s coming in over.
It's got that sepia.
Yeah, that's the printing. This is one that Casey took of us out over the Olympic Peninsula. And that's Daryl Kerr flying the lead. I'm the white helmet number 2 guy flying there.
That's a nice photo, too.
It is, isn't it? Unfortunately, I took that picture. Here's the USS Enterprise, one of the ships that I was on. And here is the USS Coral Sea, which I really love being on this ship. The Enterprise was a great ship for me to be on because I was a Star Trek fan, aficionado. And when you came on the Enterprise, as soon as you walked off the flight deck, there was the Starship Enterprise was in the tile.
Oh, really?
Oh, someone did a really nice job. They played the Star Trek episodes on the ship's TV.
So they named it for that, or just it happenstance?
Star Trek named their ship the Enterprise
because of
the legacy of the Enterprise in the U.S. Navy.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's cool.
So, but then everything changed, and when I came to Honduras, and we talked about with the Papa Jack when he gave us the airplane.
Yeah, there it is.
This is the airplane that he gave us, the 1953 Piper Pacer, which this airplane had a tail wheel, which I'd never flown. This airplane took a lot of learning for me to actually fly it well and fly it safely. Had a little 150 horsepower engine in it, 4 seats, but before this airplane, our base in Alca, which was, right on the Cruta River, about 7 miles from the Nicaraguan border, the nearest cold drink was in Puerto Lempiras, which sometimes, because of the 2 rivers that were between us, took us 9 to 12 hours to walk up to Puerto Lempiras.
You have to, stop and camp?
No, we just had to wade through a lot of water, okay?
Golly.
And that was the nearest cold drink. But after we got, we called this, because the color, the flying banana.
Yeah.
It was...
so when that plane was given, or you got that plane...
Here's Ron and John and I in front of our bodega. This is the parking place for the flying banana.
Where was it at? Where did you have to take it from, and where did you bring it to? Where was the first flight for that thing?
Jack had it in La Ceiba, so he sold it to us for $7,500.
Yeah.
And
did you have to fix anything?
No. Well,
Julio gave it a look over.
Yep. And let's see. Do I have? Yeah, I got, let's see. Here's the cockpit was very simple. And just very basic instruments in the cockpit. I, of course, wore my helmet to protect me. Here's our mechanic, Julio, that was in the 70s when I met him. He died when he was 97. He was overhauling an engine the day that he just dropped dead.
Wow.
He was an incredible guy. And This is my little refueling stop in Porto Lempira. I had a friend, Trenley, that I always had a barrel of gas, and I would land in Porto Lempira, which is a 15-minute flight up from Alca on the coast, and that I would refuel by taking my 5-gallon cans and walking to Trenley's house with my hose and siphoning out the gas, and then walking back and putting it in the airplane. And of course, here's my co-pilot, Lara Ueda. And Lara was incredibly brave, because your mom literally got airsick on every flight out to Alca.
That's rough.
Every flight, okay? This is my friend Barry Watson and I wearing the Miskito Air Force T-shirts a few years ago. And eventually a church in Vero Beach gave us this Piper Seneca, which we flew from 1990. For about 9 years, we flew back and forth to Honduras.
How big of a upgrade is that?
Huge.
Huge upgrade.
Because this is the airplane that you and Michaela were in the middle.
Yeah.
There were 6 seats in the airplane,
Uh-huh.
and you're in the middle row, and your car seats. The raft is in front of you. You commented looking at the raft.
Yeah.
Because we're flying over open ocean, going down to
Careful, you're opening.
from Vero Beach to Key West, then Key West across the ocean to Cozumel, and then Cozumel on down to La Ceiba. So it was about 8 hours, 3 flights, total about 8 hours over open ocean a lot.
So from the perspective of going from flying Navy planes to those planes, is it like boring? Is it like what are some of the big differences when you're
The Navy? I had really good mechanics in the squadron that kept the airplane maintained.
Mm-hmm.
These airplanes,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like in charge of the maintenance.
Yeah.
So at Vero Beach we had good mechanics. Julio was a good mechanic, but there were times that I had to try to figure things out myself.
Yeah.
Like, once I learned how to land this airplane and got comfortable flying it.
You talking about the Pacer?
The Pacer,
Yeah.
the Flying Banana. We had a teachers conference, and I actually flew to Tegucigalpa, and I brought Victoria Palacios, who was the university professor that was training our teachers. And I brought her out to Alca, and we had our teachers conference, and it rained a lot during that week of our teachers conference.
You already gotten there though.
We'd gotten there,
Yeah.
the rain started, all of our teachers were there.
Yeah.
And then the conference ended, and now I was going to fly Victoria back to Tegucigalpa.
Yeah.
So we pushed the airplane down to the airstrip. Victoria got in. I fired it up. And as I'm taxiing down to the end of the runway, I noticed that the water is so deep in the middle of the runway, it's actually coming up over the wheels.
Oh.
And I had the thought, wow, I wonder what's going to happen if at high speed if I hit this water. Is it going to cause the nose to go over? And I'd never experienced taking off through a big puddle before. So
you couldn't Google it.
So I said, I did Google it. I said, Lord, if I'm not going to make this takeoff before I get to the end, turn around, you just let me know.
Yeah.
So when I got to the end, the way you turn the Pacer is you just step on the brake and it turns, the airplane turns because you're stepping on the brake. And I stepped on the right brake, it went all the way to the floor.
Oh.
And the airplane just went ahead, and I mean, literally, the rudder pedal brake went all the way to the floor. And it was like, so I shut the engine down, I got out, got Victoria out. Sure enough, there's hydraulic fluid all over the belly of the airplane.
Oh.
So we pushed the airplane back up to the bodega, okay?
So what does that mean? A line broke? Or
Well, so I got my tools out, and there's a metal piece on the bottom of the airplane. I unscrewed that and took it off, and sure enough, that brake line had just shattered. Literally,
wow.
it was
it just blew out.
It just blew out. The side of it blew out. So I got my wrenches, and I took that piece off because there were 2 connecting points to the cylinder that's actually on the brake pedal, on the rudder pedal in the cockpit. So I took that line off, and now I'm thinking, I got to figure out how to patch this line,
Yeah.
Well, I found in our bodega, somebody had brought some marine epoxy.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, maybe I can take these marine epoxies, like 2 pieces of clay.
Yeah.
Maybe I can, mold it together and put it around the line, and maybe it'll harden and maybe it will hold. So I mixed it all together, and I packed it around, and then I set it, and I was it takes 24 hours to dry. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, what do I use for brake fluid? Because we didn't have any brake fluid. And I'm thinking, then all of a sudden I hear this airplane, and it's coming to Alka, and I run down to the airstrip, and it's Barry Watson, my friend, and he's landing.
Yeah.
And I said, Barry, I just blew out one of my brake lines, and I'm trying to fix it, but I don't have any brake fluid. Do you have any brake fluid?
Yeah.
He said, well, no, but why do you need brakes? I said, well, I need it to steer and to stop. And he's flying a Cessna 206.
Yeah.
Which has a nose wheel. Mine has a tail wheel. Which, a nose wheel, you can steer the airplane with the rudders. Barry said, well, this airplane hasn't had brakes for 6 months.
Oh.
I said, and you haven't had any problems? He said, well, I did overrun the runway in Calcutta and run into that barbed wire fence, and just the spinner got caught up in a lot of barbed wire. No problem. And I looked, and sure enough, on the spinner were a bunch of nicks and gouges, because that, when that prop hits,
whipping around.
Yeah. And I thought, well, maybe I can control it without the brake working. So we pushed the airplane down to the airstrip. I fired it up, went down the runway, and as I'm trying to control it, the airplane just wanders off in the grass, and I can't, so I just shut it down. I go, no, I need my brakes.
Yeah.
Push the airplane back up. Next morning, that epoxy is hard as a rock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, okay. So my friend Ron Bross, who was my partner working there, so we screw it back on, connect it, and now we had an outboard motor, so we had outboard motor 2-cycle oil that we mixed with the oil. I figured, okay, it's a lubricant. I don't think. So there's a little cylinder sits right on the brake pedal, and you have to pour the fluid in. And I'd watched our mechanic Julio bleed the air out of the brakes, and you go down to the brake right on the wheel, and you unscrew this screw, and now you have to pour and pump the brake, and you have to push that down into the line, and eventually bubbles start coming out, and then fluid comes out, and when there's no more air, then you tighten it up.
Right.
Okay, so Ron and I am pushing, and I'm pushing, and I'm pouring, pushing, little cylinder, I'm pouring it in, very cramped. Ron's down the bottom. I said, Ron, let me know if you see any bubbles. It was seemed like hours, Finally, the bike, there's bubbles, okay? So I say, screw it up real quick, and then I press, and sure enough, pressure's building up, and he unscrews, and I pour more fluid in, and there's now fluid coming. Okay, we just bled the brake. First time I ever did that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, will it hold? So we push the airplane down to the airstrip. I fired it up, and as I'm going down the airstrip, taxiing slowly, the brake is working. It's like, okay. So we're good to go. So I get I tell Victoria. Next day I fly her up to Porto Lempira, because now we've already arranged a flight for her to fly from Porto Lempira back to Tegucigalpa. So I ended up that day flying back to La Ceiba. Now, Julio was there at the airport waiting for her. Now, Julio's in his 70s, he's a master mechanic, okay? He understands that I'm a klutz when it comes to mechanics. Okay, I never took auto mechanics in high school. I never took shop. And constantly, whenever Julio and I are working together on the airplane, he'll tell me to do something, but usually I create more problems than I fix. And the line between he and I is I told him I went to college,
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, so you went to college, huh?
Yeah.
It's kind of our joke, all right? So I'm really proud to show Julio that I fixed this airplane, So I said, Julio, guess what happened? And I tell him the story, and we take the bottom of that panel off, and he looks and he sees this big hunk of epoxy clay around the line, And I look and I go, what do you think? And he goes, okay, nice job. So I'm kind of basking in the glory.
Yeah.
And I said, but I got a question, Julio. The next time that I have this problem and I don't have any brake fluid, what should I use instead if I don't have the hydraulic fluid? And without a pause, he said, cerveza, beer.
Oh, really?
I said, beer? He said, yeah, beer, cerveza. I'm thinking, okay, it's got alcohol in it. It's okay. It's got a little bit of viscosity. Okay. And then he said, cerveza fría, cold beer. And I'm thinking, okay, colder temperature, it's going to be more compressed. I said, use cold beer instead of brake fluid and pour it in that reservoir? And he said, no, drink 2 cold beers and you won't even worry about not having any brakes.
Yeah, with the...
He really got me on that one, right? Okay, so...
Not when you got other passengers with you, I guess.
Yeah, but cerveza fría.
So did you fix that, or did you...
Well, basically, we got another line. And
Okay.
he made another brake line because he could make parts. We just took the two. He actually had the tube, and we made a new line.
Okay.
It was fixed, you know.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, always a constant adventure in
Keeping your plane running.
keeping the plane running. And then if things went wrong, I just had no idea. I'm kind of all on my own. I'm 200
Yeah.
miles, over 250 miles away from La Ceiba. Got the MAF guys. They're 60 miles away. Okay, they were super helpful. Well, let me just tell you, just one thing that happened where all of that got involved. I remember specifically it was July 4th, 1988. And July 4th is a special day for me because on July 4th, 1982, I got baptized on Wailea Beach in Maui, and Craig Englert and Jason Spence baptized me. That was a very significant day.
Yeah.
We had a team from Saddleback Church in California. They'd come to help us build a hangar for our airplane. No, they're actually building a house on that. We had another team that came later. And so we had 5 guys that came on the team. And normally what I did is we had a commercial flight that went from La Ceiba out to Puerto Lempira. And we would usually put most of the passengers on that flight, and then I would take one guy with me in our Flying Banana and all the extra baggage, because it was me, the full load of gas, and 500 pounds to get in that airplane. That was our load.
Yeah. So nobody could ride with you if you had that much.
One guy
one
in
guy,
the front,
okay.
but then the
Yeah.
back was our little cargo. I even built a little cargo net, so in case we crashed, all that cargo wouldn't come forward and kill us by breaking our necks. You know, you got to be resourceful.
Yeah.
So Matt, he's a carpenter. Matt and I were loading the airplane this day, and I remember Matt's backpack. He had one of these framed backpacks, and I'm pushing it through the cargo door. I really cracked my right wrist here. It was just, as I'm pushing it, I just felt something pop, and it was like really sore. I knew I had injured something, but it wasn't enough to keep me from flying. So Matt and I get in the airplane. 2 hours and 40 minutes we fly to Auca. And we land. Matt gets out, we unload everything, and now I've got 4 people up in Puerto Lempira that I need to fly down, plus their bags. So I get in the airplane and I fly to Puerto Lempira, and they're at the airstrip waiting for me. And so I had to refuel, so I walked over to Trenely's house, which was about a 5-minute walk with my tube.
Is that the picture you showed?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I filled up 10 gallons of gas. I came back. I climb up on the strut. I opened both caps. I had a chamois filter to keep the water out, and I filled those up, and then I put the caps back on. There was one girl that I put her in the front seat, and I put all the bags in, so next flight I could just I had 2 more flights to make, and we flew to Auca, 15-minute flight.
Okay.
But rain clouds had started coming in, so when we got to Auca, it was just, it was pouring heavy rain, so we had to circle for 3, 4, 5 minutes and wait for that squall to pass.
Yeah.
And then there's standing water on the airstrip, so I had to wait just a few moments, and finally I landed and going through some puddles. But we unloaded that young lady and then the bags, and then I flew back up to Puerto Lempira.
And so you had pick up more people?
I had 3 more people to
Okay.
go. On the way up there, my engine started running a little rough, and I noticed it was, wow, it's running rough. And I got up to Port Lempira, and it's a long runway, 4,000-foot runway. And so I just turned in, and on final, I decided to do a mag check.
What does that mean?
Each cylinder on an airplane has 2 spark plugs, and you have a magneto that supplies the spark to those plugs, and you have a redundancy. So you have 2 plugs in each one.
Okay.
And you have 2 magnetos, a left and a right, that fire.
So that's what.
It's a backup system.
Yeah.
So when you're running up doing your engine checks, you go to both settings. So both your magnetos are supplying sparks to those cylinders, and then you do a check left, check right. And if one of them is not working, you're going to see a rough engine running, and your RPMs are going to drop. Notice, one of your mags is not working, or you got a problem with your spark plug wire or something. So I did a mag check, and sure enough, my engine started running really rough. I went, I got one. So one of my cylinders is not firing fully.
How big of a disaster is that?
Well, I land, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to see what's going on here. And meanwhile, my friends that are waiting, I said, look, they had already filled the jugs up because they'd walked to Trendley's, and I said, just pour it in I had a big funnel, put that on top of the hole, and I said, just go ahead and pour that in. And meanwhile, I took out my little tool bag, and I took the spark plug wires off each of the cylinders. There's 8 spark plugs. And when I got to cylinder number 4, I pulled the wire out on one, and that little circular lead that pushes down was actually broken off.
Oh.
A little circular lead had broken off. That was not firing properly. I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to fix that?
Yeah.
Okay. And about that time, Vic, who was filling up the tank on the port side on the left wing, he said, okay, hand me the gas cap, because we're done filling. I said, well, don't you have the gas cap? He said, no, I thought you took it off. I said, no, I didn't take it off. So we started looking around on the ground to see if the gas cap had fallen. But I realized after we couldn't find it that probably when I refueled before I flew down to Alca, because of my wrist, I did not close it properly.
Oh, no.
And it came off in flight. It was somewhere on the ground between here and Alca. And now I got another problem.
Yeah.
I'm missing a gas cap, and if you fly without a gas cap, it just siphons sucks all the gas out of the wing tank.
So you can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and I said, Lord, where are you when I need you? I said that.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what happened? It started raining heavily. And now we're standing under the wing, and I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? And I thought, okay, so I walked down to the end of the runway where the SAMI, that little air service that Barry worked for.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, maybe they have a gas cap or something. Well, there's a guy, a Miskito boy there named Derek, who was from Alca.
Yeah.
And Derek's mom, many times when she knew I was flying up to Port Lempira, she'd give me a rama of bananas to take to Derek.
Okay.
So Derek and I were friends.
Yeah.
And I told Derek what my problem was. So he takes me around the back of their little hangar, and there's a wing of an airplane that crashed a couple years before.
Yeah.
It's laying there. It's a Cessna. I fly in a Piper Pacer. And I look on the top of the wing where the gas tanks are, and there's 2 gas caps there.
Okay.
I'm going, wow. So I reached down and I tried to take the gas caps off. I cannot take it off. I'm really both of them. And then Derek gets down, and he's a strong Miskito boy. He's got lots of muscle. We can't get the caps off. And I'm going, golly, okay. And by this time I'm sweaty, and I hear an airplane landing on the airstrip. I turn around and look, and it pulls up right beside me. And out steps Tom Vanderbroek. He's one of the MAF pilots.
Oh, okay.
His wife Diane is the one that really introduced Laura and I to fried cassava.
Oh,
it's like French fries, you know, but cassava. We had meals at their house. And I walked up to Tom. I said, Tom, I got a problem here when my engine's running rough. I got a broken spark plug lead. Tom said, let me have a look at that. They're mechanics, right?
Yeah.
He looks at it. He walks back to his airplane. He pulls out his tool bag. he's got extra parts, and by golly, he's got one of those little leads.
Perfect.
So he gets out his little pliers and his needle nose pliers, and he starts to work. And we finally get it connected, and we get it screwed on, and I'm about ready to now fire the engine up. And I turn around and bump right into Derek, the Miskito boy.
Yeah.
And he's standing there. He's got a screwdriver in one hand, and he's got a gas cap in the other hand. He had pried it off with a screwdriver.
Oh, nice.
Okay? And I looked at the gas cap. The Piper one was very circular. It's got a couple notches on the bottom. It drops into notches on the tank, and then you turn it. This was flat. It was small. It didn't even look like it fit.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, it's not going to work. But I thought, Derek worked so hard to get it off. At least I got to try.
Yeah, of course.
So I took that. I climbed up on the strut. I held it up above the hole, and by golly, the notches, it fit in perfectly.
Okay.
I turned it, and it closed. And I looked at the design. It was a better design than the Piper design.
And it worked good.
It worked perfectly. I got down, and I just gave Derek a hug. I said, thank you, Polly, thank you. Okay. And then Tom said, you're going to make another flight after this one, right? I said, yeah, I have to. Well, the rain was coming. He said, look, just get your passengers and the rest of them, put them in my plane. I'll just drop them off on my way back to Awas. So
Is this plane bigger?
it's a little bigger.
Okay.
But he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And it was out of his way. And normally I would have to pay him money to do that, to
Yeah.
cover their expenses. No problem.
Wow.
So we ended up in Alca. We landed. Passengers got out. Tom took off. And as I'm walking back up to the bodega, I remembered what I said. Lord, where are you when I need you? When it started raining.
Yeah.
And he said, right where I said I'd be. That was to me, an amazing experience that I was able to accomplish the repair on the spring, on the little lead on the cylinder line, spark plug lead, and then have a gas cap that I used for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that was miraculous, Lucas.
Yeah.
It was a miraculous moment for me. And where was I when you needed? I was right there with you. And that has stayed with me ever since.
Yeah.
It really has. So being a member of the Miskito Air Force gave me a lot of trust
Yeah.
that God had given us this airplane, that He had told me that I was qualified and well trained to do this,
Yeah.
and that as long as I did it with Him, it would go
Right.
fine. And it was the following year that actually, after Laura and I married, that Larry Bowen and Buddy Tipton came down to visit us. And when Buddy climbed in the airplane to fly out to Alca, he didn't like the idea that this was a fabric wing airplane, and there was a piece of duct tape on the bottom of the airplane. One of our kids had poked their pencil through that fabric,
Yeah.
and I had put a piece of duct tape on it to keep the bugs from getting in it. Buddy said, "What's that duct tape doing there?" And I said, "Well, one of our kids poked his pencil through the wing. You want me to get in the airplane?" I said, "Buddy, there's no other way to get to Alca than in this airplane. Get in." And when we got out of the airplane, Buddy said to me, "The Lord's going to give you another airplane." And I thought, that's not a word of prophecy. That's a word of panic, And it was about 3 months later, I was flying with Laura from Ceiba out to Alca. And the first part of the flight is very smooth because we fly right along the north coast of Honduras. It's a beautiful beach. From Limon out to Cabo Camarones, it's like 70 miles of this beautiful beach. You don't see anybody on it. Occasionally, you see a horse or a cow.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful beach, and I'm flying along, and we're at about 4,500 feet, and I hear the Lord say to me, "Ask me for another airplane." And I thought to myself, that is a strange thought. And I heard it again. Ask me for another airplane. And I said, well, Lord, if I ask you for another airplane, it means I'm not really happy with what you already gave me. And this airplane's just fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, what about her?
Mm-hmm.
Now, sitting right next to me is Laura, who always tried to go to sleep because she always got airsick. So she's got her headphones on and she's trying to just get through the flight. What about her?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, Lord, would you give us another airplane? And so when I got back to Florida a few months later, I told my parents about that. And but nothing happened. Went back to Honduras, and then we came back on the next time, and I got a call from our friend Buddy,
Mm-hmm.
who told me, the Lord's going to give you another airplane. And he said, you know, I played golf with a friend of mine today, and he wants to buy you an airplane.
Oh.
I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. And so within a month, we had this twin-engine Piper Seneca, which flew at high altitude, and Laura never got airsick.
Wow.
The
That's the key difference, was being able to fly higher up.
higher altitude, because when you fly at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet, and the thermals are coming up off the savannah, and it's very turbulent.
Oh,
and so
okay.
that's what shakes around. But in the Seneca, we would climb up to 9,500 feet, 10,000 feet, and you're not feeling those thermals. So our
Yeah.
flight in this airplane from La Ceiba out to Alca, it wasn't 2 hours and 40 minutes. It was closer to about an hour and 50 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And it was high altitude. We'd fly out, climb up high. It's cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we got over the Patuca River, we would descend down and just kind of glide into the airstrip
Yeah.
at Alca. So it was a much more comfortable airplane.
What eventually happened to that plane? I don't even remember.
Well, what happened to it was in '98, we had a team coming, and by this time the war had ended in Nicaragua. All the refugees had gone home. A flight service, La Costeña, had started flying from Managua out to Puerto Cabeza, and they were making flights into Waspam.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole operation had moved from Alca to Waspam. And so I flew on American Airlines down to Managua, met this team from Hawaii. We flew on La Costeña out to Waspam. I realized when I got out of the airplane, I said, this is so easy
Yeah.
to just get in American Airlines, spend the night in Managua, fly out the next day. It's much cheaper than flying what I was doing with the Seneca overall. And after that flight, I realized we don't need this airplane anymore.
The
Seneca.
operation has evolved.
Right, and so I held on to it because a pilot needs an airplane, right? And I made some flights. I was flying. Our church was having teams go out to Abaco Island in the Bahamas every summer, so I did that a couple summers, and I made a bunch of flights for them. But we weren't using the airplane anymore, and it was coming to the place where both engines were coming up to a time for overhaul.
Yeah.
And that was going to be about a $30,000 expense. This was in 2002.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see a reason to pay that money that we didn't have.
Yeah.
The Lord had provided us all the money up at that point that we needed for this airplane. I mean, when we first got it, we had some severe corrosion problems and some other things, and the Lord provided over $30,000 for everything to get fixed
Yeah.
up, and so we had a safe airplane.
But this time the timing felt.
And what happened was, Luke, I had Paris Air, this guy that owns Paris
Yeah.
Air. He flies Seneca ones, which was he said, Mike, why don't you sell me your airplane? I said, no, Paris. He said, come on, let's work out something. I really want to buy your airplane. Then somebody else asked me, was I wanting to sell it? And then 6 months went by, and I realized I got to sell the airplane. And some guy said, come on, you're not using it. Sell me your plane, which we did. And
Yeah.
then we took that money, and we actually sent Danilo Cunningham to Israel and sent him to school for a year, and then sent him to Hawaii for his internship. And so the money was well used.
Yeah.
From that airplane.
Oh. So
But-
what did you think after that plane left? Did you imagine you would find yourself having ownership of a plane ever again in your life?
Nope, never could see it. But my brother owned this airplane, a Grumman Traveler, which he owned, I think, from 2004, maybe. He bought the airplane 2005. And in 2019, 2020, because of his just health, he was not able to renew his license. And so I just took over paying for the parking and paying for the annual inspections. And so basically I inherited this airplane, which we finally flew down to Florida here in December this past year. It needs new radios right now, but the airplane is a great little airplane, and I think...
well, now what I'm wondering now that I have more context, because I'm not a pilot yet, but I'm thinking I need to be one now. But then I'm also thinking, well, what is God gonna do with us now that we have a plane in our midst? And that's kind of exciting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
our ministries evolve. What we're doing is evolved. It's not like we need to fly, but...
I could fly this airplane to Utila.
Right.
Get it there.
Yeah.
And we could fly it around and go back and forth to La Ceiba and back and forth to San Pedro Sula. Maybe that's something he wants us to do.
Yeah.
It's a nice little airplane. It flies at about 120 miles an hour. You can get me and 800 pounds of people and cargo in it. So I don't know what he has.
Yeah.
But since my brother, he really wanted me to take over the airplane and maintain it, and I didn't feel the need to sell it at this point. But I'm just wondering, maybe the Lord has just given me another opportunity to take you flying. And take and if you're going to get your pilot's license, this is the very best way is to have your own airplane.
Yeah, that's what all my pilot friends tell me. They go, "Oh, you guys have a plane now, huh?" I go, "Yeah."
So maybe it could work out for you and some others that the airplane would pay for itself to just maintain it. Honestly, I love getting up in the air.
Yeah.
I've never been one of those pilots that just loves flying.
Right.
To me,
you never struck me as that either.
An airplane is a way to get from point A to point B, and in the Miskito, you needed an airplane.
Yeah.
You just couldn't do it without it. That's why Jack, basically, remember, he told me, come with me to the Aeronautica.
Right, yeah.
Because you need to get a license. I said, why do I need a Honduran pilot's license? He says, well, you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And then I see him a few weeks later, what do you think about this airplane? Well, I don't know, Jack. We don't have the money. And then I see him a week or two later. He said, what have you thought about the airplane? I said, well, we just don't have the money. Well, I'm going to give you that airplane. You pay me $7,500 when you get it because you need that airplane. I brought it here to Honduras. This is what it's for, and you guys are going to use it. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
So I've been very reluctant. This is the third airplane that somebody's given me.
Right. So now, I wonder what what God's going to use it for. Maybe time to unretire this shirt design too.
Get the Miskito Air Force back in operation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, are there any things that just hearing these stories and you being a part of it, especially a passenger in the Seneca for a number, you made lots of flights from 90, let's see, we got that airplane in 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. You were making flights with us, and you're like 1 year old, 2 year old. This is like you're up until you're 7 years old. You're making flights.
Yeah.
Sometimes twice a year. You're making this flight with us.
I vaguely remember it. I think what I'm struck with is just the fact that, before you were even in a relationship with Jesus, truly, that He was using your own interest and your own life experience to prepare you for being a bush pilot,
landing on small little landing strips.
And because if you become a pilot in the Navy, it's safe to say you're qualified at one of the highest levels that we have as humans to get into an aircraft and safely pilot it and land it and all the things. And so for you to go from being a Navy pilot to somebody that is working in an area, because I mean when you're flying, even in those La Costeña flights to Waspam, you're looking out the window, and I'd always have the thought, I'd look at an area, a piece of grass, a tree, and have the thought, I wonder if a human has ever interacted with that tree or that spot or that whatever. It's so remote.
It is so remote.
And if you see, it's not even like you see roads. You'll see a walking path to a little house.
Yeah.
And it's truly, what's the word? There's a deep feeling of, is it a melancholy feeling? I don't know. There's an interesting vibe you get when you see how remote and just so much land untouched by humans.
Right, and you wonder if there's any humans down
Right,
there.
yeah, and it's like, man, is there anyone out here but us?
Well, flying out from La Ceiba out to Roos, which was a little clinic that Jack actually...
like a medical clinic?
Medical clinic
Okay.
in Roos, and Jack took over that clinic and really brought some doctors out and brought a bunch of stuff. That was one of his projects that I didn't mention the other day, was the Friends of the Americas had this clinic at Roos, and there was a little airstrip right there by the clinic, and then there was a longer one that was an old DC strip that was out about 7 miles away, and I used to fly into Roos with cargo and people, and I'd land at the big strip because the small strip was just too short for me.
Stressful,
I didn't trust myself. But flying to Roos, Luke, we're the Patuca River. The Patuca River comes down and it does a bend, and it's about maybe 20 miles between the Patuca River and the Coca River, and there's these big 4,000 or 5,000 foot mountains with these vertical cliffs. And I would fly along that, and like you said, I look around, I don't see any evidence of humanity.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if I ended up on the ground here, I am 3 or 4 weeks walk away from something if I can even survive. You know? But the feeling that I got was a very mystical, melancholy.
Yeah.
It was like I'm all alone.
Yeah.
And when I'm making these flights by myself,
I bet
it was like.
See, I wasn't alone. I was just a passenger, so I'm just imagining that feeling.
Yeah, but you were never on those flights of mine to Roos,
No,
where I was taking people in cargo out, dropping off. Now I'm flying back by myself, and I'm just kind of looking at these big mountains and this area, and I'm just. It does provoke something in a human.
And I also was thinking how beyond God preparing you before you even knew it. Just the elements of the story of you having a bad mag check and having to land and missing a fuel cap. I mean, the guy that shows up to help you out, you'd become friends before that point, right?
Right.
And established some rapport.
Right. Oh yeah. I'd been to his house. His wife.
He shows up randomly and has
just randomly dropped some passengers off.
And I really just feel like that's
what a coincidence.
Well, yeah, what a coincidence. But also, you never know when somebody that you interact with is going to show up and save your life. And at some point you became friends with him. I'm sure you were kind and established a good relationship.
Yeah.
And
well, remember I mentioned George Goff, the Miskito boy. Okay. I landed in Puerto Lempiras in the Flying Banana one day, and I got out and I noticed that my tail wheel was kind of leaning over to the side.
Like crooked?
Like it was just, there was a leaf spring assembly that came out. The tail was like a little shock absorber. And the tail, but it was off to the side. Okay? And I looked at that and I thought, man, I got to get that looked at or something. Well, George Goff lands right and parks right next to me. And he gets out and we're chatting and he says, hey, Mike, look at your tail wheel. I think one of your steel rods that connects back, there's about 7 of them that connect back that form the fuselage with the fabric going over it. He said, I think one of your steel rods has broken. Why don't you follow me back to Awas and let me weld that for you?
Okay.
I was like, okay. So now that morning, Laura and I had to make this flight up to Port Lempira for some reason, and I asked Laura, I said, Laura, I'm going to go up to Port Lempira. Why don't you come with me? We can get something cold to drink. Maybe we can go see a couple of our friends there. And she said, okay. I said, look, maybe if we spend the night, just take along whatever you need, just in case we spend the night, because sometimes our friends would invite us to stay with them. And, they have electricity in Port Lempira. Well, when George said that, I said, come on, Laura, we're going to go to Owas, and George is going to look at the airplane. So we get in the airplane, and we go to Owas. Now we land, and Steve, the other pilot, MAF pilot, comes out. So now we're pushing our airplane into their hangar, because George is going to look at the back, the tail wheel. Well, there's little poles that form the fence around the hangar, and we weren't paying attention, I guess. We're pushing the airplane, but the rear stabilizer, the little wing in the back, it hit the pole, and the leading edge bent straight up.
Oh, wow. So it was like completely just not functional.
So this thing that was moving like this has a steel tube, but the fabric is around, and it was now bent up at a 90-degree up angle. And it was like, golly, now we got a big problem.
Yeah.
Well, Steve gets his knife out. He starts cutting the fabric away where it's bent up, and he keeps cutting all the way around the front. And he goes, Mike, come here. He said, I think this is a blessing that this happened. I said, what do you mean? He said, look at this. Look at the corrosion in this steel rod that is forming the leading edge of your stabilizer. It is totally corroded. And I looked, and there's holes and rust. This thing is totally corroded.
Like it's going to break at any point.
Like at any moment, it can pop up or pop down. And if I'm flying along and it pops up, I am going immediately into the ground, and there's nothing I can do.
And you're probably going to die.
And I'm going to die.
Yeah.
He said, I think this is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so we ended up spending the night with George and Ruth,
Yeah.
And so I said, so Laura, I didn't bring, I said, did you bring a toothbrush or anything? And she looked at me very sheepishly.
Yeah.
She said, all I brought was this. And she pulls out of her bag her eyelash curler. I said, bring something essential if we spend the night. All she brought was her eyelash curler. Okay, this is Laura Ueda, townie girl from Honolulu, right? Mauna Loa.
That's the only thing she brought?
That's what she thought was essential, was her eyelash curler.
Oh, yeah.
So we ended up, Steve and George took that rear stabilizer piece off, and the next day a flight came from La Ceiba, and we jumped on the plane, took it back. Julio replaced all of that tubing, put new fabric on, painted it.
Oh, wow.
It took us a week and a half to get that done. Then we caught another flight back out to Owas.
Yeah.
And Steve and George put that back on, hooked up the cables. The airplane was fixed.
Wow.
And then while the airplane was there, George welded.
That's like a major renovation.
Well, right, but that
just happenstance.
That could have killed us.
Yeah.
Luke. It could have killed us.
Yeah.
And but just to see how God was just looking after me and your mother and looking after us, that how would we randomly run into that little fence pole?
Yeah.
Never, I was so careful, and so was Steve. We're pushing the airplane in, and all of a sudden we hear this crunch. We look back, we ran into that fence. How did we run into that?
Wow. Well, that's just another example of, and you had those people there to help you do all that,
MAF guys were great.
Yeah, then you had the mechanic that could actually weld that and fix that. And, yeah.
And his wife fixed us a very nice meal that night.
Yeah.
And Ruth was a real sweetheart,
That is such a... when you think of it from a first-person perspective, it's pretty extreme, because the places you're getting to are all remote. And it's like you're going from little bodega to bodega, but in between, it's not like there's humanity. Because, like, say we were flying around here, right? Something happens. There's a number of places we could quickly land, and humanity's there, and a mechanic's there, and yada, yada.
And phones and roads and stuff, and cars.
I'm just imagining back then, it's like, well, thank God you all found that when you had some able abled guys that knew planes and how to fix all that, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many little things where
I know, Luke. I look back
or
on
if
this
it slipped through the cracks, you're nose diving.
into the ground.
Yeah, somewhere out there in the.
And no one's going to find it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But God had you.
he
And then
had-
even with the timing of not owning a plane, right? It was like, all right, it's time to move on for a bit.
and we flew on La Costeña many times to Waspam, and that was
It's still a pretty rugged flight, but not quite what you guys are doing.
And I always, if you noticed, I always sat in the seat right in the front of that caravan.
Uh-huh.
So I was I was in the front row, right in the middle seat
Yeah.
between the pilots, just in case.
Those guys were good, though.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good, really good.
There was
pilot.
only a few times where I thought, man, this is gnarly, like the weather or just not being able to see and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know if you were on the flight with us, because Laura and I, we were flying out, and there was lots of clouds, and we were flying above it. But halfway out, we start descending, and I can't figure out why we're in a descent. And then the airplane does a turn. I think, is there engine problems? And we're turning back to Managua, And we do a circle, and I look down, and it's raining really hard, and there's an airstrip right below.
Yeah.
But as we're descending to try to land there, I can see peaks of mountains coming up above the clouds.
Yeah.
And then that little voice that says,
Terrain.
terrain avoidance.
Yeah.
Terrain avoidance. And Laura goes, are we in trouble? And I go, now I'm really looking,
Yeah.
And the pilots are really good. And they rolled out, and we flew right over this airstrip. It's just pouring rain.
Yeah.
And then the pilot added power, started climbing and heading out through this valley to climb up. And once he got up over the mountains, he turned around, and we headed back to Waspam. And as soon as we landed in Waspam, he turned around to the guy sitting next to me. He said, and that was where the gold mines are at Bonita.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm sorry I couldn't drop you off there, but I'll drop you off on the way back to Managua.
Yeah.
So that was a scheduled stop.
For what, like a couple people to get off?
To get off,
Wow.
yeah. But all I heard was terrain
Yeah.
avoidance. Terrain avoidance.
Yeah.
Terrain avoidance.
That's like from the movies, pull up.
Yeah, pull up, pull up. But La Costeña has done a really good job, and they were very safe. And
Yeah. But it gives you perspective for just the kind of operation, it's very rugged to navigate and get around out there.
yeah,
And there is probably still even now, there's tons of space out there with nobody, right?
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tons of space with nobody.
Yeah.
Just lots of bugs
Yeah. And those pine trees
and pine trees.
yeah.
And a lot of snakes. Yeah. Well, I hope some of this has been encouraging to you, especially, first of all, I think the preparation that I had flying those 7 years I was flying in the Navy and preparing me to land on short airstrips, but the challenges of visual navigation and landing on dirt strips that were as wide as Lucas and I sitting
Yeah.
here with cows and horses and pigs running around, and just all these factors, and then just trusting that God was going to make a way. And there were so many times, Luke, when we would come to be flying out from La Ceiba out to Auca, and we didn't know what the weather reporting was. We had nobody to talk to. But
Yeah.
we take off, it was clear. But, 9, 10 o'clock, these squall lines during the rainy season would
Just
start
like in
coming
Florida, it's just like 3
Yeah.
o'clock.
And there was these black lines of clouds, and we'd just have to get low and fly under them and just pray that it would be clear over Auca. And Lucas, almost every time we got there, it would be clear,
Yeah.
and we could land. It's just an amazing experience for me.
Yeah. Now, now considering all that, I mean, you spent a lot of time uncomfortable, being put under pressure, and
I remember one time landing the Seneca, and I think you were in the back seat.
yeah, so even more pressure.
And with Laura, you, and Michaela, and Dave Sterling was with us, our friend from Maui.
Okay.
And we had flown out to Auca in the Seneca, and it was raining and storming so hard that we had to turn around and we went back to Awas because the runway was longer there and we could land. We ended up spending the night in Awas with, I think we spent it with Ruth and George. And the next morning, now we're flying out to Auca.
Yeah.
And it's still raining, and the airstrip was so muddy. And so the wind was very contrary, crosswind. And when I touched down and I put the brakes on, and because the wind was coming this way, the airplane did this 90-degree turn.
Oh, wow.
And it's now sliding down our airstrip 90 degrees, and Dave Sterling grabs my leg like this, like, what are you doing, you know? And all I'm doing is I'm pressing on the right rudder as much as I can to get the wind stream to, and the nose starts coming around, and finally we get pointed, but we're sliding down this runway through the wet grass.
Nothing broke?
No, because it's wet grass.
Yeah.
It's you know, you slide. And finally we get pointed in the right direction, and I hit the brakes, and we stop right at the end, and he looks at me, and I go, yeah, that was pretty intense. And you're in the back, and I don't know what you were thinking. Whoa!
Yeah. Was that the scariest landing you've had, would you say?
That was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Pretty intense, because when that airplane's going sideways down the runway.
Yeah, when you feel you're when you're in any kind of vehicle facing forward, and all of a sudden your momentum is going shoulder to shoulder, that's
right.
It feels wrong.
It's not a good thing. No, it's not good.
It feels wrong. Oh, well, thank you for sharing, taking the time.
Well, it's God has an adventure for us. He's prepared. He prepared me for this particular adventure, and He's prepared you for the adventure that He's called you to. So, I hope you just take steps of faith, and God calls you to do something that you've never done before, and know that it's going to be a risky undertaking, but a remarkable experience.
Yeah. Take advantage of the relationships you make along the way, because you never know when that person's gonna
you never know.
Show up and save your life with a extra spark plug wire in his tool bag. You know,
never know. That's right. Be nice to all those people. Be a good friend.
Be a good steward. Yeah. All right. Well, aloha. We'll see you guys next time.